Grass. Milk. Cheese.
Beautiful.
What would happen if French government banned raw milk?
Révolution.
We still are highly regulated as raw milk cheesemakers.
I think it's a problem if I'm the last one. And if I stop, this product will disappear.
There is an existential threat to small farms.
I think there is a battle out there.
As a young American entrepreneur, I'd like to say I'm up for the fight.
They're brilliant, and they want to be better every day.
We make it because it's beautiful and it's something that's real. It behooves us to make something that nobody else can make.
Something new is waiting to be born.
Camembert is one of my favourite cheeses. Hi, I'm Will Studd, and I've been working with cheese the whole of my professional life. And straight off, let me tell you that Camembert, the cheese that almost shouts France, the cheese that almost everyone in the world thinks that they know, does need an introduction. At least real Camembert does. Simply because most people have no idea of its rise to fame. It's a story full of intrigue, jealousy, freakish good luck, and most of all, a clever twist that gave Camembert that slight stinky softness and distinctive aroma which sent it straight to the hearts of the French, and then later, the world. It's also the story of this French woman, Marie Harel, much celebrated, and then, who through no fault of her own, had her head blown off in World War II. The Camembert story is linked to one of the most beautiful parts of France, Normandy. Glorious beaches, pretty villages, ancient farms, Mont Saint-Michel, apple orchards, cows, and cheese. It is the home of France's most famous cheese, Camembert. The name Camembert de Normandy was officially recognized under the French AOP system in 1983. Any cheese bearing the name today must be packed in a small wooden box and be made from raw cow's milk collected from a strictly designated region of Normandy. Today, at least 50% of this milk must come from Normande cows. What's more, during cheese making, the curd must be ladled over 5 separate intervals. No other cheese is made quite like it. The process is as complex as the history of Normandy itself. Today, Normandy's past spans almost more years of war than of peace. Its position on the French coast has made it the target of invasions from Viking times, the jumping-off point for the Norman conquest of England, and the D-Day landings of World War II. This massive castle, the Chateau Felice, is more than 1,000 years old. It survived the destruction of the township below during the Second World War. death toll was horrendous. General Eisenhower, seen here alongside a destroyed tank, said that just 48 hours after it was over, it was literally possible to walk for hundreds of yards at a time, stepping on nothing but dead and decaying flesh. In this castle, the future King of England, William the Conqueror, was born around 1028. His father, the king in his castle, his mother, a tanner, who was working in the stream below. When his father, Robert I, Duke of Normandy, died in the Crusades, his nominated son and heir, William the Bastard, took over, and famously in 1066 invaded and conquered England. His coat of arms lives on the current royal coat of arms, 3 lions on English sporting shirts. 2 lions, not 3 or 1, distinguish Camembert de Normandy, although Camembert itself did not appear until around 700 years later. The Vikings arrived here in the 9th century. They came as essentially standover men, taking what they could and demanding money to go away, but some stayed. Led by the wonderfully named Rollo the Walker, the French gave them land, and 20 years later, they'd been granted all of what is now Normandy. So, what's all this got to do with cheese? Well, these Normans brought with them a superior breed of cattle. Interbreeding with now extinct French breeds led to the Normande cow. It took a while. Are they related to the cows that came with the Vikings?
Enfin, on remonte pas si loin que ça. En fin de compte, c'est un mélange de 3 races locales qui a permis l'arrivée de cette race.
Vincent Delaunay is a dairy farmer and the president of the Camembert Association. And as such, he is the go-to man for all things Normande.
Les races sont vraiment... Donc, la spécificité de la race normande, c'est qu'il s'agit d'une race mixte qui produit du lait et de la viande. Et aussi, son lait est très riche, qui permet de produire des très bons fromages. Voilà.
What is the average size of herd in Normandy for a farmer?
La taille de l'élevage, bon, je dirais dans les 70-80 vaches laitières.
That's all? 65?
Ouais.
Oof, tiny, small. Why so small?
Mais oui, dans la région, bon, ça grossit toujours un peu, hein. Mais les élevages moyens, c'est une centaine de vaches, voilà. Mais en AOP, c'est un peu plus petit. La moyenne nationale, je ne sais pas, c'est 110, 120 vaches, je pense, pas plus que ça. C'est pas non plus, voilà.
PDOs give a special status awarded to foods produced in a unique way in a particular geographical area. The French also have their own system, which sits alongside the PDO, called the AOP.
Oui, je crois que j'ai compris. Je pense que l'AOP est très important pour l'avenir des plus petites exploitations.
It's a joy to be around a man who's so passionate about something as basic as milk produced by cows. Cows he clearly loves, and all the while doing the same thing day after day. Sometimes there is joy in the detail. And what is special about Cotentin?
La proximité de la mer. La mer, on est à 15 km, la mer là, et par ici, on est à 20-25 km. On a la mer de chaque côté. Voilà, c'est la spécificité du Cotentin. C'est une presqu'île. C'est difficile à expliquer, mais on s'aperçoit que les fromages fabriqués dans notre région ont un goût spécifique par rapport à d'autres secteurs de la Normandie. Et c'est un rapport sûrement avec la flore, la flore, c'est-à-dire les plantes qui poussent dans nos prairies, qui donnent un effet gustatif différent.
All the milk from Monsieur Delaunay's cows ends up here. Rio is an unusual cheese company, because they hand-make Camembert de Normandy. The dairy only started back in 1931, when Monsieur Réau simplified spelling his name into a brand, Réau, and set about making cheese. Monsieur Réau's recipes live on. Today, the company is run by David Aubrey. He is also the president of the AOP in Normandy, overseeing the regulations that govern the making of the 4 AOP Normandy cheeses.
Donc on a une fromagerie spécifique puisqu'on fabrique que des produits traditionnels. On répète les gestes des produits fermiers et donc on fabrique du camembert moulé à la louche à la main.
More than 60,000 tons of camembert are produced in Normandy every year, but less than 10% of this is the real deal. So there's a bit of a trick to recognizing the authentic cheese. In Normandy, there are 3 main regions of production: Pays d'Auge, Bocage, and Le Cotentin. Perhaps the most interesting are the Camembert de Normandy labelled fermier, meaning made on the farm and only with milk from that farm. These days in Normandy, 90% of all Camembert is made from pasteurised milk. Large industrial producers have ensured there are almost no controls over how they make any cheese they want to call Camembert. Their cheese generally has a mild, predictable flavour and aroma, and a smooth, creamy texture. And most are stabilised and don't need to be ripened the same way as traditional Camembert. Industrial Camembert is low cost and convenient, and most examples have a white, bloomy rind that makes them attractive. More recently, science has been sneaking up on Camembert de Normandy. A starter culture called Hafnia alvi has been developed to make pasteurised milk Camembert taste like it's been made from raw milk. Hafnia alvi is a bacteria found in many animals and commonly in raw milk. Adding more during the cheese-making process helps inhibit E. coli without raising the acidity of the cheese. Others can be made with variations of Normande milk, pasteurised milk, even milk from other parts of the EU. In an attempt to prevent consumers from being misled, strict new AOP rules now ban any Camembert cheese made in Normandy from using Fabrique en Normandie or using the distinctive 2-lion symbol unless the cheese is genuine, made locally from at least 50% Normande breed raw cow's milk. Then there is the Camembert made all around the world. And in fact, the Netherlands and Germany export more Camembert branded cheese than France. But after Camembert became so popular about 100 years ago, the genie was out of the bottle and gone before the Camembert makers could agree to try and keep control of the name, their brand, and their brand's quality. Here in the entrance to the Camembert Museum in the village of Camembert, the first thing you run into is a display of international Camembert. Now you can buy American Camembert, Australian Camembert, Canadian Camembert, Mexican Camembert, Indian Camembert, New Zealand Camembert, even Chinese, Japanese and Korean Camembert. This original cheese name has now spread right across the world. But despite being a national symbol of France, the origins of Camembert are quite young. The cheese's modern fathers look sternly down on those who visit the little museum. Camembert lacks the 1,000-year history of, say, Comté, Cantal, Beaufort, Salaire, Roquefort. It's the cheese that changed. In fact, the taste of Camembert that we know today didn't really exist much before the 1950s.
Ça, c'est quelque chose qui est très dommage, c'est que le terme camembert, il est devenu usuel et utilisé par tous les pays et même par d'autres, en France, par d'autres régions que la Normandie.
The Harel creamery here in the village of Lassay near the Normandy coast buys its milk from 31 AOP dairies. True to its original farmhouse roots, Camembert is always made with skim milk. And the cream is made into butter.
Et aussi, on fabrique du beurre de baratte, du fromage blanc égoutté en filtre berge. Voilà, c'est que des produits manuels.
Even that is special. Washed in spring water, churned rather than shot out of a butter cannon. It's slapped into moulds, labelled beurre de baratte, butter from the churn. It's just about the best butter you can get. So back in the old farmhouse days, the cows provided first butter and then cheese. The milk is inoculated with starter and rennet. The curds take about an hour to set in these 125-litre tubs. The raw milk curds are then cut twice. The trick is to allow the curds to drain between ladlings. Each of these blue-coloured cheese moulds will get 5 separate ladlings spaced 40 minutes apart. Everything that happens at Harel is handmade, and the label tells an important part of the story. Camembert that is hand-ladled is branded moulé à la main.
Alors, en moulage manuel, nous sommes encore plusieurs à mouler à la main, dont des fermiers, mais il y en a trois grosses industries qui moulent à la louche robotisée.
For the AOP's premier Camembert de Normandy, the rules also allow for the moulds to be filled by robots. In trying to regulate the modernisation of a very traditional farmhouse practice, years ago, no one foresaw that a machine would ever be able to replicate what Marie Harel could do in her kitchen, or what David Aubrey still does in his dairy. But here it is. If robots can make cars, why can't they make Camembert? And so, in this industrial dairy, there begins an extraordinary mechanical mimic of something unimaginable 50 years ago, almost a waltz of the robots.
Va confondre les deux produits, puisque ce sont des fromages qui ont le sigle AOP. Et le moulage à la louche ne va pas différencier s'il est robotisé ou manuel. Donc il faut bien vérifier sur les étiquettes que c'est écrit moulé à la main pour que ce soit du traditionnel.
After all, this ladling is what has made Camembert Camembert. There's something quite calming about watching the gentle rhythm as they go along their rows, scoop and plop. The skill is to add just the right amount of curd. Later, the weighing machine in the packing room will show very little variation from one cheese to the next. Back when Monsieur Harel started, he made 3,000 Camembert a day. Today, David Aubrey makes 15,000. Most of which are sold in France. Maturation takes place in 2 rooms. The first is set at 14 degrees with 96% humidity. Perfect for the growth of Geotrichum candidum, a yeast which gives the cheese its white ivory wrinkle coat. It breaks down the fats and proteins to produce great flavour. No Geo means no Camembert de Normandy.
This room is the room for the mature, for the cheese, for the first week. Okay? We have one day here, another day here, One week of fabrication.
Oh, so every row is a fabrication?
Yeah, yeah. You can see.
Oh, yeah, you can see the different layers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Five layers.
Yeah, five
Okay.
layers, yeah, look at that. The 5 layers provide for tiny openings in the curd that enable the cultures to thrive and bring great flavour to the cheese.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The Camembert is then moved to another room, where a drop in temperature of just ½ a degree discourages the geotrichum and encourages the growth of Penicillium camberti to bring a distinctive Camembert flavour and to strengthen the rind. And also encourages a fluffy white growth that the French call the duvet. After 21 days, the cheese can be sold, and it will continue to ripen in the box after it leaves the dairy. Young Camembert is quite bland, with a white rind and chalky, slightly acidic centre. As the cheese ages, the moulds and yeast start to die, and the white rind becomes flecked with orange streaks, and the exquisite, stronger smell of garlic, brassica, truffles, and animal notes start to emerge. The French have a biblical term for this, les pieds de Dieu, the feet of God. How important is the box?
Alors, la boîte, elle est très très importante. D'ailleurs, c'est écrit dans le cahier des charges du Camembert AOP. La boîte en bois est obligatoire. Et en fait, on va avoir, pour que le fromage s'affine correctement, on va avoir 2 filtres qui vont empêcher le fromage de sécher. Le premier filtre, ça va être le papier. Et le deuxième filtre, ça va être le bois, qui permet au fromage, que ce soit pour le papier et le bois, il va permettre au fromage de respirer et de ne pas trop sécher. Et ça va vraiment améliorer son affinage.
The little poplar box is essential for controlling maturation, but it became really important in the marketing of Camembert. It protected the cheese and trumpeted its contents and maker in the mini billboards stuck on the outside. The accepted birth story of Camembert starts here, in the little Normandy village of Camembert. Visit, and there's not a lot here. A museum, a creamery making, yes, Camembert, a church, a town hall with 2 occupants, and the large house on the hill, where lived the woman claimed as the inventor of Camembert, Marie Harel. Here she is, slender, tall and gorgeous, gloriously rendered in the red and gold of Normandy. She looks as if she's just walked off the set of Les Mis, and her backstory could well have been written by Victor Hugo. This looks nothing like other images of her, but then her story is full of mystery and mistakes. The year was 1791. The museum depicts her as an industrious woman who, like most farming women in the Pays d'Auge, skimmed milk of its cream to make butter, and then made cheese with the milk. 1791 was at the height of the French Revolution and the breakup of the monasteries. And the killing of priests had clergy hiding all over France. Marie Harel apparently took in one such priest from Brie, and in gratitude for his safety, he showed her how to make soft mould-ripened cheese. No one knows how, but perhaps being busy, she ladled her curd into the moulds in between other household chores. 5 ladles may have filled the mould, and so Camembert was born. Back then, the roads of Camembert made access difficult to travel, so every week Harel took her cheeses to the nearby market town, Vimoutier. No doubt her cheese was distinctive and popular, but back then we're not sure how it was presented. Most likely, just sitting on a bed of straw. The poplar box would come later. But her Camembert was a standout. It made sense for her descendants to try and keep the process a secret. According to Ed Beer, the Painel family, the descendants of Marie Harel, remained the primary producers, if not the only producers of Camembert, up until the 1870s.
Let's dig into Camembert. The history of Camembert as you understand it.
We know that in, I think, 1709 or thereabouts, a guy named Thomas Cornet went to the market.
The same Vermoutier market that Marie Harel used 80 years later. And it was still here when I came here in 2002.
Market was held on a Monday. The market is still held on a Monday. There was cheese being sold under the name Camembert. We don't know what that cheese was like, but it was probably a small cheese, and it was probably a stinky cheese, because stinky cheese is the native cheese of the area. And sometime toward the end of the 1700s, the end of the same century, Marie Harel or somebody, but probably she was probably a skilled craftswoman and a skilled businesswoman, began to ripen the cheese differently. And probably that was the step that leads us to the Camembert we have today, which is not a stinky cheese, but which is covered with Penicillium camemberti. The red that gave the stinky flavor did not dominate, and that perhaps gives us the cheese we have today. Be it said that white surface was then gray, blue, green.
Without the French railway built from Paris to Granville in the 1850s, we probably wouldn't have Camembert today. Around this time, Camembert cheese was barely known outside the local area of the Pays d'Auge. The railway changed all that. By 1865, Cyril Painel, Marie Harel's grandson, was making 60,000 Camembert a year, taking them here to the station in Menil-Megère for shipping to Paris. Stations up and down the line saw an enormous traffic in cheese. Before the railway was built through this little town of Briouze in 1866, it took 3 days to send cheese to the Paris markets. The railways did the job in just 6 hours, and that meant that Camembert could compete with Brie for the first time. It was revolutionary. The Camembert boom also meant that cheesemaking was now more profitable than beef cattle. By 1879, Cyril Painel, Marie Harel's grandson, was producing 150,000 cheeses a year. In the years since the railway, the production of Camembert had increased tenfold. All of it paper-wrapped and shipped in wicker baskets. The Painel-Harel monopoly didn't last past the 1870s. The secrets leaked, but Marie Harel's name and the Painel know-how still gave them a huge competitive advantage. Around 1890, there came another of those mystical turns in the life of Camembert, the round wooden box with its lid. Originally used by chemists for storing pills, it too has no inventor. If it was the creation of one man, then he soon found his idea copied everywhere. The boxes made of poplar wood allowed the cheese to leave the dairy early and mature in transit, and also gave them an extended shelf life. By the 1920s, 50,000 boxes a day were churned out by machines like this one, now retired to the Camembert Museum. And the artwork on the lid made the whole package pop. No longer was Camembert just another soft white cheese on the shelf. What's more, you had to buy the whole thing. The artwork frequently referenced patriotic themes, historic figures, and the connection of Camembert to the creameries where it was made. Today, Vermoutier is a thriving and charming town, Marie Harel Central, although it hasn't really sought to overcapitalise on its connection to France's most recognisable cheese. Actually, there are 2 statues of Marie Harel in Vermoutier, and therein lies a very French tale. In 1926, Vermoutier was startled when a strange American doctor named Joseph Knerim turned up, claiming he'd come to honour Marie Harel, stating that Camembert had medicinal powers and had cured many of his patients. He claimed he practically lived on it, eating Camembert 2-3 times a day. He proposed a statue and made a $20 contribution. His offer both charmed and embarrassed the local dignitaries. They had only a vague idea of who Marie Harel was. Inquiries were made. There was a connection through the Paynel family that established Marie Harel's connection to Beaumoncel, the house in Camembert. A wreath was laid, a statue agreed to, and Dr. Knerim took off to Czechoslovakia to sing the praises of Pilsner beer. He left behind the foundations of a myth that would eventually become the legend of Marie Harel. This was 1926. Just 3 months before Knerim's arrival, Normandy cheesemakers had been rocked when in January, the French appellate court in Orleans ruled that the name Camembert was generic. Exclusivity went out of the window. Camembert could be made anywhere. Quelle horreur! Knerim's arrival in March was opportune and struck a real chord. A leading Camembert maker, Monsieur Henri Le Petit, raised money for an obelisk to be erected near the village of Camembert itself. Suddenly, Camembert had an inventor and a story, reinvented after 130 years of virtual obscurity. It was to change forever the image of Camembert. Knerim's enthusiasm for putting Marie Harel on a pedestal was a godsend, even if they did fumble the facts. The current Camembert mayor, Michel Cousin, explained that back then his village wanted the obelisk to honour Marie Harel before Dr. Knerim's proposed statue was built in Vermoutier.
Donc ils ont voulu rendre un hommage à Marie Harel en faisant cette stèle-là, voilà. Avec le maire de l'époque, Hyacinthe Desvaux, qui était maire de Camembert.
It was a nice thought, but they got the date wrong. Marie Harel was 83 years old when she died in 1844.
C'était marqué 18, c'est tout. Le maire précédent avait fait des recherches, ils avaient trouvé 1812. Et maintenant, on est arrivé à 1844. Donc, Marie Harel est
Some more research would have also revealed more about Dr. Knerim.
Elle habitait.
Tell me about the doctor. Was he a real doctor?
Alors, Knerim, on l'a toujours baptisé le docteur Knerim. Et on vient de s'apercevoir il y a 15 ans à peu près, que ce n'était pas un docteur. C'était simplement un barman et qui essayait de guérir les maux d'estomac avec du fromage, du camembert, parce qu'il y a de la pénicilline dedans, et la bière Pils.
Meanwhile, Monsieur Le Petit also led the charge to build Knerim's statue. The hugely popular cheese was an orphan in need of a mother, and after 2 years of fundraising, Marie would be it, standing in the market where she sold her cheese. The final piece of the puzzle was in place, and handsome it was. It nailed the belief that Marie Harel had invented Camembert, and it also hedged its history by honouring the farm women of Normandy. It helped that the cheese was born at the same time as the First Republic, that it involved a priest and a farm lady who'd conjured up something magical and lyrical by making a brie-style cheese in Livarot moulds. This was helped on by Napoleon III, apparently endorsing one of Cyril Paynel's camemberts and placing an imperial-sized order. It would not be the last time myth and romance were drafted into telling the story of Camembert.
This is the day for which free people long have waited. This is D-Day.
During the D-Day landings, a terrible reality led to the next chapter in the Marie Harel story. On the 14th of June 1944, 9 days after the landings, a leaflet drop meant to warn the residents of Vimoutiers of an impending bombing raid went horribly wrong. The leaflets were blown away, and the town had no idea of what was to come. That morning, it was destroyed in an American air raid. At the time, there was only one German in the town, in the hospital. The others had all left. One of the bombs had left Marie Harel's statue a headless, forlorn figure. In yet another twist, a young French pilot, Denis Barrois, one of many French airmen training in Georgia, America, had befriended Margaret Mitchell. She was rich and famous as the author of Gone with the Wind. Their friendship endured, and Mitchell, making good on the American destruction of the town, paid to rebuild the hospital. Later, in 1949, she enlisted the help of the American charity organization Pilot International to help rebuild the town. Having flattened it, it was American money that helped rebuild it. So in July 1949, Mitchell was made an honorary citizen of Vimoutiers. In her letter of thanks, she said she was planning a visit. Just 2 weeks later, she was hit by a car. She died at the age of 48. After the war, the making of Camembert spread around the world, much to the distress of the French. It was the cheese that they regarded as theirs, and theirs alone.
Donc le Camembert de Normandie, il a une histoire qui a été créée par Marie Harel à Camembert. Donc c'était pendant la Révolution française, donc c'est très très vieux. Et en fait, le Camembert s'est industrialisé et on peut en fabriquer dans le monde entier.
Camembert is one of the most widely copied cheeses in the world, especially in America. In 1947, the American company Borden Cheese wrote to the mayor of Vimoutiers offering to replace the damaged Marie Harel statue. The town was horrified. Borden's had invented condensed milk. They were a huge industrial cheese-making outfit. They were the largest distributors of liquid milk in America, and much to the Norman horror, they made a version of Camembert and were represented by a cartoon cow called Elsie.
Elsie, what would I do without you?
At one time, Elsie was more famous than Mickey Mouse. Borden's was a big outfit, one not used to hearing no. The Borden employees chipped in $2,000, which was handed over to the French consul in Chicago in August 1950. Local feelings hotted up when in 1951, the Americans banned the import of French raw milk cheese aged for less than 60 days, and that included raw milk Camembert. In Vimoutiers, a civil war broke out about where to put the new Marie Harel statue. The old headless statue was eventually taken to a garden down near the church and left to greet motorists heading into town. The planned Easter unveiling in 1953 came and went. Marie Harel was put into storage. Finally, in October 1954, the new statue was unveiled in the marketplace by the US ambassador, who declared the invention of Camembert to be one of the greatest gastronomical feats of our time. But oh dear, again, no one seems to have noticed that they too also got the date of her death wrong. She's still there today, dead before her time.
One of my favourite cheeses is Camembert, but I'm not talking about any old Camembert, but genuine Normandy Camembert.
When I first came here to film, genuine farmhouse or Fermier raw milk Camembert de Normandy had vanished. The French AOP system did not recognise a single Fermier producer of Camembert de Normandy AOP. More than that, the Camembert itself had changed. During the 1960s, The reddish and blue tinged rinds of the cheeses of the past 200 years have been replaced by white-rinded, fluffy, bloomy-style Camembert. What happened?
They knew that cheeses with a whiter color commanded a higher price in the market. They paid an enormous amount of attention to the color, and they knew that the same mold would react differently under different environmental conditions.
The key to whiteness is a common mold called Penicillium candidum. Thanks to the Pasteur Institute, back in 1897, they managed to isolate and commercialize a mutant albino strain, which during maturation helped turn the rind of cheese pure white. Today, the mutant strains of Penicillium candidum are inoculated into the milk and sprayed on the cheese to create that pure white sanitary look that sings of vibrant health. But there is a problem. Over the generations, the mutant strain has lost its ability to reproduce spores, and there's a growing risk it will soon become extinct. So Camembert, like most cheeses, is evolving. And so is the way that Normandy's AOP is regulating how it's made.
Now, you were in charge of the Camembert regulations, or changing the regulations. Was that difficult to change the regulations?
Oui, oui. En fait, j'ai deux casquettes. J'ai la direction de la fromagerie Harel, donc qui fabrique le Camembert AOP, mais au niveau de l'association des fromages AOP de Normandie, dans le cahier des charges d'appellation d'origine protégée, on a des nouvelles règles qui existent depuis 2017, donc qui sont au minimum 50% de race normande dans les fermes. On a aussi l'obligation de pâturage de 6 mois. Voilà, c'est des choses qui ont changé récemment, mais on est de nouveau en train de réouvrir le cahier des charges pour encore augmenter la race, le pourcentage de race normande, et aussi intégrer des nouvelles dispositions comme augmenter les arbres dans les prairies, utiliser que des aliments non OGM. Voilà, c'est des choses qu'on va aussi modifier dans le cahier des charges.
And it seems to be working. 4 generations of the Harel family have farmed here in the Cotentin region, raising sheep and breeding Normande cattle. Bien Harouf is named after a man who was born on the farm in 1814, a missionary who worked and was martyred in China, and later became a saint in the year 2000. His monument sits in the place where the original house stood, until it was destroyed during the Second World War. The Harel family run a pure herd of 150 Normande cows, but one is very special. Lazone, a Grand Champion Normande. The farm is almost on the coast, just 8 kilometers from Mont Saint-Michel. 2 years ago, they decided to make a traditional raw milk Camembert de Normandy fermier. Not just because it added value to their milk, but because it was helping to revive tradition. A sort of spiritual extension of farming with Normande cows.
I mean, that's the ideal. The ideal is a farm cheese that's, because the milk never leaves the farm, it's never pumped, it's never jostled, it goes straight into the vat or whatever it is used to set the curd, and you have only the local farm organisms setting the curd because of the lactic bacteria, but all the microflora that ripen the cheese inside and outside.
Raw milk provides both a challenge and a joy because every day the milk is different. So cheesemaking is not just pure science. It's about feel, capturing the taste of the farm, and on that very day.
Smells lovely, got lovely pasture smell to it. You can smell grass.
Now they're one of just 7 producers of Camembert de Normandy fermier. Remember that a little more than a decade ago, there were no Fermier Camembert cheeses recognised by the AOP. It's been a remarkable revival.
But if you don't have the model of raw milk cheese, then you really don't know where you're headed and you don't have a point of reference.
When I came here in 2002, traditional farmhouse raw milk Camembert had almost died out. France's national cheese had moved off the farm. It had become a factory-made pasteurised product. During the 20th century, the landscape of Normandy has changed. Modern machine farming means that a field of hay can be harvested in just a few minutes. Modern fencing began to replace the bocage, the hedgerows that traditionally had separated the pastures. Some of those hedgerows still exist today. Many are gone, but there remains an area of Normandy officially called bocage.
Grass is the medium for the transmission of flavor to cheese. So everything is about having animals outdoors eating the grass, or in cold climates in winter, you have to bring them hay.
This is the passion project of Janine Deluvier and her French husband, Denis, producing, of course, Camembert de Normandy Fermier. But what sets them apart is Janine's standout approach to feeding their 60 cows.
With this system, the hay drying barn is brilliant. We collect it while it's still supple, which is why there's still all the leaves, all the flowers, everything is still about 90–95% intact, pretty much the same quality as in the field.
That must be really, really important for the quality of the milk.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. When you give hay that's been done in rolls, etc., you have to supplement the feed of the animals with a whole lot of cereals and other products. Whereas with this, we use very, very small amounts of cereals. We do still use some. The first year I did with nothing, and the cows suffered. They all got quite thin and, oops, made a mistake. But we have a label, which is a spécialité traditionnelle garantie, lait de foin, which guarantees that our animals eat no silage, just hay and grass. With that label, we're allowed up to 1.5 tonnes of cereals per cow per year.
Yeah.
Here, with this, we've been using, on average for 5 years, 93 kilos per cow per year.
Wow, okay.
That's the difference.
So for Janine, not just the care for the cows, but the feed and therefore the land is also important. It's the modern referencing the traditional.
And how many other people are using hay like this?
Not many. And we are the only farm that I know that doesn't turn over the fields, that doesn't plough the fields.
Really? The only one in Normandy?
The only one I've heard of. There are, in the mountains, they plough them less.
Yeah.
With our cows, with our fields, with everything, we don't force them to produce. We allow them naturally to produce what they can.
That's so good, so good.
So how good is the cheese?
It smells delicious. I can smell grass in that.
It's,
And it's got a beautiful, beautiful paste in the middle.
That's the thing, even when they're young, they're full of flavour.
It's sensational.
There are some others that, when they're young, got no flavour at all. Ours do.
It's sensational. Thank you, cows.
Absolutely.
No?
Thank you, ladies.
You. Really, really good. Really good.
Thank you.
When I first came here in 2002, the Giron family were the only producers of Camembert near the village of Camembert. They were farmhouse or fermier producers, but they weren't recognised under the AOP system. Today, the family have moved on.
You can feel the love in the cheese.
Well, you can taste the love in the cheese.
Yeah, always.
And with handmade fermier cheese, like love, things are never the same from one day to the next.
Do you get a lot of seasonal variation?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, right now in the summer, you can make one camembert with like 2 liters of milk. And it's like really floral, as you said, in the taste. But during the winter, we are like 1 liter 9 for one camembert. even the color change.
Really?
Yeah.
So probably in the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 decades, even the best Camembert has become less and less interesting. One of the prime makers said to me, you know, my grandfather's Camembert, that was a different cheese.
This is farmhouse cheese that reflects the season, the soil, the meadows, and a moment in time. Only time will tell if customers understand that Camembert Fermier is irregular in quality, sometimes great, sometimes disgusting. It was like that in the early days of Camembert when it was made on the farm by Marie Harel. Camembert's many variants are France's most popular cheeses. Popularity needs precedent, and in this, the myth of Marie Harel is the best we can offer. No myth can be without its lost paradise.